What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome back to MKO Boxing, aka MKO Pugilism, where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like and subscribe on YouTube, follow me on TikTok, all that good stuff. So, yeah, let's get into this one. So, in this one, we're just going to talk a bit in brief about a lot of these statements that have been coming around regarding Terence Bud Crawford, who achieved that monumental victory and became the first ever man to win undisputed to become undisputed champion in three different weight divisions. That's never been done before, and it'll be hard for it to be done again. I mean, that's like a sort of thing you see once in a lifetime. So, yeah, exceptional victory for Crawford. And since the victory, obviously, there's been a lot of talk about what happens next for him. There's been talk, as always, the inevitable comparisons to Floyd Mayweather Jr. and is he better than Floyd Mayweather Jr. And there's been also fighters calling him out. So, with respect to what could be next for Terence Bud Crawford, there's a lot that could be next. I mean, one of the first call outs I saw was Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. He called Crawford out, and he was in an interview with Punch Drunk Boxing, and yeah, he was saying that he would have stopped Canelo in that situation, I think, and he's sort of saying, yeah, Bud, come and call out a nobody, come and fight a nobody, blah blah blah. So he wants a bit of Bud Crawford, Boo Boo Andrade. So I suppose that I don't know that that's a possibility because he's not a champion, and I suppose for Crawford, Crawford will be looking for the bigger fights. So another guy called him out as well, who's actually got a fight coming up, and that's Chris Eubank Jr. Now, Chris Eubank Jr. has got to fight Conor Benn at the end of this year, so he's a bit bold and a bit presumptuous calling Crawford out, but he done it nonetheless. He said Eubank versus Crawford, and I think that's one of them fights where 100% confident in Crawford, and that's one of those fights that yeah, if Chris Eubank Jr. beats Conor Benn again, then I think it's one of those that probably wouldn't appeal to the American audience, but I think it would appeal to the British audience because if for no other reason then we really want to see Canelo over here. Sorry, not Canelo, Crawford over here, and I think that sort of fight, Eubank if he would beats Ben versus Crawford over here, that would sell out a stadium over here, no problem. I don't know about Wembley, but yeah, that'll do Tottenham Stadium or one of the others over here. So I think it wouldn't be a competitive fight. Crawford washes him, but it would be a big fight because Chris Eubank Jr. He's a draw. People love him, and some people love to hate him. So yeah, that would probably sell as well. So those two, and also Crawford has been talking about moving, vacating the super middleweight belts now, letting them go vacant, and then going down to middleweight. So that's also the possibility, and I think that's realistic. You got champions there, and I think all those champions, they're all beatable. You got Adames and some others there, and yeah, they'll pose some sort of threat to Crawford. But I think going on his performance and how comfortable he was at super middle, I just think if he he'll be comfortable at middle as well. And I think yeah he could. Well, the only thing is whether time's on his side and whether he gets sold someday or whatever. But yeah, just on ability wise, I think he'd have to beat in of all the middleweight champions. So that's also another option for him if he just wants to clear out the middleweight division, which he seems quite interested in. And as far as the comparisons between Floyd Mayweather and Terence Bud Crawford, who's better? I mean, I personally, I think it's one of those that's debatable, and it's one of those that you'll never really know. I mean, what Floyd Mayweather has on his side is the fact that he's definitely got the better names on his resume, and he's got so many names that they're sort of Hall of Fame worthy, great fighters. You got Shane Mosley, Oscar De La Hoya, Manny Pacquiao, Jose Luis Castillo, Ricky Hatton, Diego Corrales, a young Canelo. So I mean, that's just a few of the names on his resume, but he's, yeah, the names on the resume are superior. You can debate about what, when in their careers he fought them. Even Juan Manuel Marquez, you can debate about, okay, did he fight them at specific right times and pick and choose? Fair point. But names wise on his resume, is better in that respect. But I would say Crawford's resume is better. Um, than Mayweather's in one way, and that is that Crawford did what Mayweather didn't, which is become undisputed champion. And not he didn't do it once, he didn't do it twice, he done it 3 times. So Crawford, in his journey through the weights, has done it the correct way by going after all the champions, beating them all, winning all the belts that he could win, becoming undisputed, moving up. And, to have done that in 3 different weight divisions, it's historical. He's the first in history to ever do that. So I think that achievement alone kind of puts him well on par with Mayweather. And in a sense, that's kind of better in theory because Mayweather, as great as he was, he never won every bout, never sort of unified everything, became undisputed, whereas Crawford, he did. And when you look at things objectively, forget about whether, if Mayweather's your favorite fighter or whoever's your favorite fighter, just look at it objectively. You gotta go, when you talk about the better achievement, you gotta go for the man who's got all the belts, the undisputed guy and even with respect to their victories over Canelo, both were dominant. Both were like real dominant displays. But you could say the asterisk on Mayweather's win was that he fought Canelo at a catch weight, and whereas Crawford, I think at the time Canelo was light middle, so 154 pounder, and at some point before the fight. Before it was even signed or anything, Canelo and his manager, they were saying, "Oh yeah, we'll take on Mayweather at even less than 154. We'll do 152 or we'll do 150, whatever it was." And then it ended up being at 152. Mayweather said, "Okay, I'll take you up on that. I'll beat you at 152 because that's what Canelo and them said." But with Crawford, he went up in weight to Canelo's weight and beat him. And you got to take into consideration Crawford going up there. He had no advantages going up to super middleweight. It was his first time at super middleweight. He hadn't even been in the weight division below at middleweight, and he'd only had one fight at light middleweight. So going up to 168, there was nothing there there was no advantages. There was no catch weight for Crawford. He just went up to the division where Canelo was most comfortable and where he had been dominant and where he was undisputed. And he went up to where Canelo, no advantage, no rehydrate, no nothing, and just dominated him up there. So even that achievement alone kind of puts his in a better light than Mayweather slightly because of the conditions, because of the fact that he went with no advantages. There was no catch weight for Crawford. He just went to the division where the champion was and beat him, and that's what he's been doing consistently. So he might have the lesser names, but he does have the undisputed on his side, and obviously no catch weight, going directly to the guys, going directly to Canelo, and to his weight where he's comfortable, where he's the main man, and just dethroned him just like that. So yeah, it's all debatable about this stuff, Mayweather, Crawford. What I'm saying doesn't make him better, but I'm saying achievement wise, they're on par. They're on sort of the same level, and you could even say Crawford's achievements, technically speaking, you could say are better because if you value undisputed winning all the belts, then you could go with Crawford. I mean, but who anyway? That's my thought. That's my opinion. Who would have won if they fought? I'm saying that's up in the air. That's up for debate. Because they're both superb, and Crawford very strong fighter, Mayweather just a defensive genius. So, boy, I don't know what would have happened, but I wish we could have seen it, but we won't. So, anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, it's MKO Boxing, over and out.